The truth is hard to swallow, and our next guest is here to talk about behind the scenes of the birth control industry as well as her incredible on-air career. Please welcome, big round of applause for Ricki.
Yeah.
Hi, all. Nice to see you all. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, before we begin, you were actually just listening to our last segment. I hear you have a story from an award show.
It's not exactly the same thing, but this was back in the 90s. I was presenting at the MTV Music Awards, and there was a whole behind-the-scenes thing that happened with Madonna being interviewed by Kurt Loder, and Courtney Love was, it was Madonna being interviewed, and Courtney Love was throwing items at her head, and I was right there watching the whole thing. And it was a bit of like a story. Wow. Do you remember? I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but it was a story, and then all is forgotten. So I don't know the answer to whether Will is gonna like live this down, and it'll, it's a much bigger stage. It was live, but yeah, that was long forgotten, and I remember living through that.
I remember, and Madonna acted like she didn't really know who Courtney Love was or wanted attention. Remember that?
Yeah,
I do remember.
Exactly. Wow. Oh my God, that's so fun.
Throwback.
I know. All right, Ricki, you've been
I've been around a long time, guys.
Our audience members are commenting how gorgeous and fabulous you look.
But we said that during the break.
We
Full
did.
disclosure.
We
You look
did.
amazing.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm tired, and my hair is in a hat right now because I wore, it's all flat. But yeah, thank you. I'm 53, and I feel good about what I got going on.
I love it. I love it.
And speaking of your hair, Ricki, you've been very open about your own hair loss journey, and we just wanted to get your quick take on the whole Jada Pinkett Smith. I know we're kind of going back there, but it's so closely related. The situation of the Oscars.
Yeah.
What did you think about the joke?
I mean, to me, any joke about women's hair loss is not funny, and anyone who hasn't been, when you don't struggle with that, you don't really know the pain. And I really do know Jada's pain, but what went on was so uncalled for. It was criminal. Yeah. And nothing anyone says out of their mouth deserves physical altercation ever.
Well said.
Totally
like
agree.
I used to say on my old show, violence is never the answer.
It's not. In the moment, I think people think it does, but look at the fallout from this. This will go on for years.
Like a nuclear explosion.
Just one bad decision is terrible.
Well, speaking of your show, Ricki, big fan. I can't believe I'm talking to Ricki Lake. You debuted in 1993. You were the youngest person to ever host a talk show. Bravo. When you look back at that 1993 Ricki right there, what's going through your mind right now?
Well, to me, I just remember they wanted me to look older. They wanted me to look as mature as possible. So they put me in those big shoulder pads and they poofed my hair. I mean, they wanted to see that I could have a little credibility by making myself look older. But yeah, I was 23 when I did the pilot, we're coming up on the 30-year anniversary of the pilot.
Oh,
it's crazy. And I'm coming back to doing a podcast. I just announced it yesterday. I'm doing a podcast with Lemonada Media. It's called Raised by Ricki, where we're going to go throwback, a nostalgic podcast to look back at the shows, what we were able to do then from a cultural standpoint, from a historical standpoint, and look at it with a lens of today. And I'm really excited.
That's fantastic.
I'm 43 and I don't know what's going on.
I love that. We need some direction.
That's awesome. It's hard to believe that show was on the air, for over 10 years. What's the biggest difference that you see between yourself? Because it's hard to look back at yourself. What's the biggest difference that you see in you in those 10 years?
Huge. I mean, I have evolved. It's funny that I had that platform at such a young age because I really didn't have a sense of who I was. I was pretty, fear-filled, and I'm much more open-minded now. I'm way, for example, I think about, I made a documentary a few years ago about cannabis called Weed the People, where it focused on medicinal cannabis and children's cancer. Back then, I was a disciple of Nancy Reagan. I was like the just say no girl. I was super close-minded and fear-filled about psychedelics and all things like that, and I've changed the course of my thinking in these later years.
Bravo. I was going to say they evolved. I think the whole world's evolved on that, hopefully. Now, you are the EP, bravo, first of all, executive producer of the documentary The Business of Birth Control. And my experience from my mom when I talk about birth control for her in the 60s is that it pushed the feminist movement so far forward because women could finally have sex on their choice for pleasure, right? So to me, as a feminist,
Absolutely.
I am so proud of the history of the pill, but I'm so interested. What was your own experience with the pill like?
Well, for me, I was on it for more than 2 decades. And for me, I now look back on my hair loss as being a huge contributing side effect to being on the pill and going off the pill. I didn't have a lot of issues with my mental state, but so many women do. And, the bottom line is we are all still taking our grandmother's pill from 60 years ago. So I think, this movie that I'm so proud of that we've taken 7 years to make, it really looks at the history of the pill, where it was studied when it was first developed, and we're so grateful to have this option, but we really think we need more options. Women suffer with, terrible side effects that they don't even know are contributed to the pill because they don't have that time with their care provider to know what the pros and cons are with all of these medications. So we're really about informed choice, about education and empowerment. And, I think this is all information that all women should have in their back pocket when they make a decision like taking the pill.
I do have to say, all my girlfriends were like, some of them just felt crazy, just absolutely.
I've heard that too.
Crazy. Yes. I mean, that is so common for girls to talk about.
I feel like we are leaving somebody out here, Ricki, and that's myself. I'm a father of a 15-year-old daughter. So I need to know, along with the audience, like, what is the best way to protect these young women's lives? Like, just learning about this kind of stuff, and myself, because I want to be fluent when I speak with her about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, we talk about, fertility awareness method, non-hormonal options that are out there. There's a whole movement with young women that don't want to be on an endocrine disruptor. They want true body autonomy. They want to understand their cycle. And there's this whole wave of young people that are learning through technology, through the apps. There's the Clue app and lots of different ways in which you could track your cycle, learn how your body works, when in fact you're fertile. And I think, when you're not relying on a big pharmaceutical, that can be super empowering for young people.
I love it.
I'm so glad there's at least more options, right? It's like women always got one cheese at the cheese board. We got Munster. Now we got Gouda.
We need more options.
We need more, right?
I'm
Thank you.
sure there's
Munster's a
that
good
male
cheese.
pill, that male birth control pill coming down the pike, and I'm really, I'm cautiously optimistic. I really don't know whether men would take a pill like we've had to for forever. But I like to think, that it should maybe rely on the men somewhat, and that since they're the ones that can get people pregnant every day, all day, and we can only get pregnant a few days out of the month.
Amen. Thank you so much,
What a pleasure, Ricki.
So
Thank you.
good.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your
Thank you.
documentary, Your Marriage Mazel. That will help so many. DBL Nation, you can pre-order The Business of Birth Control now. And if you're a father and don't know a lot, or a mother, this could be so educational for you. It'll be available on digital platforms starting April 8th. Ricki, such an honor. Really, we're all huge fans.
Thank you.
Come
Thank
back
you
soon.
so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. Thanks, Ricki.